You dick. I had a thing. You dick. Coming live. God damn it. Coming at you live from your mother's basement.
I hope we're not coming live. Damn.
From your mother's basement, I tell you what. But don't worry, the call is coming from inside your house. It is a Wrestling Underground secondary show, subsidiary sister show, cousin, niece, nephew, what have you. We are making an impact, brought to you by Wrestling Underground, a subsidiary of RealNerdCorp.com. I'm your host, as always, Chad Bordo, and joining me is the one who must interrupt me whenever I have a thing, Zachary Tyler Pew Pew Duncan. Zachary. You're bad.
If you got a thing, don't count 3, 2, 1 like the damn owl.
I didn't like the goddamn owl. I just said 3, 2, 1, which I do every week.
You had a certain air of whimsy to it, which reminded me of the owl, so that's what I went with.
My life is a certain air of whimsy, goddammit. I did not, however, go, a 1, a 2, a 3. And by the by, you fucking owl, you goddamn cunt. That's not how you count. You don't count to 3 and then bite. You dick. You think this is a joke? You think this is a game? You think this is a game? It's not a goddamn game. All right, so anyway. Night 2 of Rebellion was last night. We covered Night 1 last week because, you know, it was last week. The main event for this week ended up being a triple threat, even though there was no one there to do the triple threat. Because, as we already know, Eddie chose family over titles. And we know that Tessa chose being Tessa instead of doing all the big talk and big walk. She big talks, she don't do the big walk. So, how are we going to get a triple threat? Well, Moose said he had a big ol' announcement for this week. And with about 40 minutes left in the show,
he made his announcement.
Yep, basically. So, I have to upload a photo to the YouTube thing, so I gotta just shift things around here for real fast. So it's kind of one of those things where I was like, oh, all right, this is, you know, I wonder what he's going to do. And then, Elgin comes out. I'm like, we haven't gotten to, I know what we're doing. And then I realized that because we hadn't gotten Moose yet, that he's going to be involved in the main event. Now, I was a little perplexed that the other member of the main event was going to end up being, of all people, Hernandez.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on, I can do it. Wait, hang on. I think that's right. Don't you judge me. You're just yelling at my Super Saiyan swag. So, triple threat main event, Hernandez, Moose, and Elgin. But it's not just Hernandez, Moose, and Elgin. It's Hernandez, Moose, and Elgin for the world title. That's right. It's a world title match. How's it a world
Chad?
Yeah.
How is that possible? The champion's in Mexico.
It's not possible. It's the possible. That's a Barney How I Met Your Mother joke. It's possible because Moose was like, hey, you want to see a big gold belt? And everyone's like, you put that big gold belt away. No one wants to see that. Oh, you meant the TNA World title. Oh, okay. So Moose comes out with the TNA World Championship, which, by the by, was something I suggested they do. I'm kind of a genius. So they announced the match as a triple threat, but it's kind of heavily implied that the winner gets the TNA World title, even though no one actually says it's for the title. Until someone says it's for the title, be it Dave Penzer. But he's told to do it by Moose. I don't think that counts, but that's the way the WWE's been doing it for like 30, 40, 50 years, so like maybe, I don't know. So we now have a world title match for your main event, but we have a full show to get to before we get there. Let's start with the opener. It's Suicide versus Chris Bay versus Rohit Raju versus Trey of the Rascals. Thackeray X Division match. It was heavily implied that this might be a contenders match what do you think of the outcome? Chris Bay gets the win. What do you think of the outcome and the match?
The match was solid. It was your standard affair X Division multi-man opener, but it was a good match. Chris Bay gets the win over. I believe he got the win by just kicking Rohit like just in the back of the head and then pinning him. So there's that. But it was pretty solid.
Sorry, I was drinking water.
How dare you hydrate?
I'm sorry. Oh, God, I forgot one of the goddamn intro points. See, this is what happens when you interrupt me. We were social distancing before it was cool. Because, we have no friends and no life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, my friend, she asked me, she lives on the other side of the country. She asked me, so how are you doing with all this? I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, not going anywhere, staying home, staying in on the weekends, that. I'm like, it's been my life for the last, 4 years. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm handling it. I'm used to it. Most of my dates just come over. Oh. Yeah. So, I'm fine with the Bay. I'm fine with the Bay winning with the kick. Mostly because it feels like people in pro wrestling underestimate how hard and how painful strikes are.
It's true. It's just at this point, it used to be you get Shawn Michaels, he hits you with the sweet chin music, which is just a super kick, and you're out 1, 2, 3. Right. But now everyone does a super kick 20 times in the match, and it means nothing anymore.
I think they need to, and I think promotions like Bloodsport and MLW are the perfect places to re-implement this idea. There's a reason why in pro wrestling you're not allowed to use a closed fist. Now, if you could actually have someone start knocking people out with a closed fist to just show how devastating a closed fist could be, maybe you could bring back the idea of a standing sidekick that doesn't really work in real life. Make it more important. Oh. I'm just saying, if I see you step back onto your left foot, I know you're going to try to super kick me, so I'm just going to stand to the side. It's not a hard thing to fucking, miss. Now, standing sidekick, on the other hand, you got that little flip of the whip with your hip. You just and you're into the gut, and you're like, oh, I didn't see that coming. I didn't know what you could do. I was stunned and as you drop to the ground, as Zach hydrates himself.
Hydration is important.
And a mute button is necessary. So we have Josh Matthews interviewing Tessa Blanchard, and I don't know about you, but the more and more Tessa talks, especially now that she kind of admitted that she's too scared to travel, she has no authenticity, and it makes me dislike her.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing for Eddie to go, my life has changed. I'm not going to risk the people I love to wrestle, even though wrestling is the thing I love to do the most. To that I say, respect. Tess is like, oh, I can't travel. No, you can. You're an American citizen. You can travel back into the country. We know you can. So you're lying. Don't fucking lie, because that's going to piss me off. And then you're like, to beat the man, to be the man, you got to beat the man, even if the man's a woman. I'm like, but you're not there to get beat because you're a fucking coward. Now, if you weren't sitting here spewing this nonsense and being more authentic about why you didn't go, it's just simply saying, I'm scared to get the Rona. I'd be like, fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
I get it.
I'm not going to fucking come down on you and go, oh, you should do it. But if you say shit like that, even if it's as a character, you better fucking back it up, because now there's 12 weeks of you not showing up because you big old big baby. Big baby, big coward. So all these trash talking, all the I'm good, I'm better than you, men, women, baby, it's all inauthentic. It's all bullshit. It would be like finding out Stone Cold Steve Austin is a thespian, vegan, pacifist in real life. His gimmick would no longer work. You know, like it's you know it'd be trash. It'd be like if The Rock was actually just some like 4'8" dude who's like, you know, I'm super into botany. What?
I mean, The Rock could be into botany.
Yeah, but he's not because he's fucking cool and fuck botany. I don't need to know how your bulbs grow. Fuck that noise. You know, it'd be like finding out The Undertaker's like a tax accountant. But like a really serious one? You know, Mark Henry, if you're going to claim your work bench on your deductibles, you're going to need to have at least 2 proofs of receipts and at least about a year's worth of documentation. Oh, I'm sorry, what was that? Rolling? No, I don't. You forgot the G. It's not roll-in, it's rolling. What are you, fucking idiot? Play a dead wizard. What? It's nonsense. By the by, Vince, are you claiming any dependents this year? I know Stephanie and Paul are still suckling on the date. See, it'd kill the mistake. Although, IRS Taker is like my new favorite idea in the history of the world. Bring your receipts.
So good.
Yay! Erwin R. Shysters is second in command.
I love it.
The tax man always comes on April 14th. Well, that's not always true, Iron. It's usually the second Tuesday of every April. Whatever day that is. I don't know if that's true. I think it's the second Tuesday of every April. Well, not this April. Taxes. So, anyway, Tessa does her little spiel and no one buys it anymore because she proved to be a giant big old coward. Don't, you know, like, you got an aura, you got a mystique. I get wanting to protect it, but then don't do anything. You know, like, The Undertaker should say he fell into a grave 12 feet under, and instead of having Kane dig him out, he wants to work his way up slowly. Okay, fine, that works. Sting's chilling with Indiana Jones and the Scorpion, but fair enough.
All good?
All good. Tessa can't claim she's the best when she ain't showing up with the rest. Just how it is, you know? You can't claim you're the best in the sport. It's like, it's the whole reason why people shat on Lonzo Ball's dad. LeVar Ball, I don't know if you know who they are.
I have heard of these people.
Lonzo Ball's an adequate basketball player, but his father made him sound like the greatest thing since sliced bread. LeVar went out of his way, who's the father, went out of his way to say that in his prime he could beat Michael Jordan one-on-one. No one believed it.
Shocking.
We all said, you're fucking lying. No, you couldn't. And this is what it sounds like from Tessa now. I don't blame her for not wanting to be there. You know, this isn't a double standard, but she doesn't have a reason not to go. She's living in Mexico with her boyfriend, fiance, excuse me. She's an American citizen. She can travel, she can cross the border. And she doesn't have any little kids. Like, there's no reason. And if she would just said, you know, I'm scared with the travel and all that, you know, I can't be there and I'm sorry and I wish things were different. But instead she made it sound like she can't travel. Not that she's choosing not to, and that's not true. And that's why I'm pissed about it, because she's trying to make it seem like she's a victim in all this, when in actuality she just opted not to go. Speaking of opting not to go, you kind of wish Joey Ryan had done the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't mind the new gimmick. I feel like on his own it doesn't work though, and I feel like he needs some contemporaries. I think a tag team would be a better idea with Joseph P. Ryan.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Josephine Ryan.
Yeah. The whole gimmick change, I feel like, was just not really handled very well. It was really just Joey Ryan came out. They just kind of like, here it is, and you know, there was no great big huge thing about it is just now he's Joseph P. Ryan and he wrestles in khaki shorts and yay.
I think you're right, and I think the reason why I didn't have an issue with it originally is because I care so little about Joey Ryan to begin with.
Right?
That anything that is involved with him, I don't really care about, and I hate his penis gimmick so much that when they changed it, I was like, "Oh, sweet Jesus, thank God." But you're right, there was no catalyst to that change outside of like, I think it was like he spent like a day with Rob Van Dam or 2 days with Rob Van Dam, and then all of a sudden he's Joseph P. Ryan. And he's trying to rebel against, the Deaners' toxic masculinity because Cody Deaner said, "You're looking fine" to Katie Forbes. Now, I want to be very clear. I don't believe that people should subject one another to inappropriate comments in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
But if your thong is so tiny I can floss my teeth with it and you show up to work like that, you're doing so because you want some attention.
Yeah.
So if I give you some attention, I go, "Hey, you're looking pretty good," and that's the extent of it. That's not exactly a reason to come at me. So I feel like the whole Joey Ryan, Katie Forbes, toxic masculinity. I like all of the ideas because it's a real easy thing to hate Joey Ryan for. Toxic masculinity. Yeah, I can hate you for that. Don't worry, I can make sure my masculinity is very toxic to hate you on that gimmick idea. Like that's what wrestling needs. Button pushing feels like, oh, I hate it. And when anyone ever says toxic masculinity, it's not a real thing. And like, it's not a real thing. Joey Ryan knows it's not a real thing. Impact knows it's not a real thing, but yet here we are. So I'm like, yeah, I hate you. I like it. So like, it's a good thing. Like, but the catalyst was innocuous. Katie Forbes wears less to the ring than she does to bed. She might sleep naked for all I know, and she still somehow wears less to the ring. She's not exactly bashful about her appearance.
No, and like Rob Van Dam is supposed to be like.
Rob Van Dam had a three-way on television.
Yeah, Rob Van Dam doesn't give a shit about this whole thing. It's very evident in his character, and it's very evident in just Rob Van Dam. Yeah. He don't give a fuck.
So it's kind of like the catalyst for Joey Ryan's not heel turn, gimmick change, wholly unnecessary. But also, Joey Ryan was sexually harassing people before.
Yeah.
So like, there was no punishment for that. Maybe if I hey, I'm gonna make Ken Shamrock grab my dick, and then Scott D'Amore's like, Dad, you're gonna need to talk to HR. That could have been the catalyst for the change. Maybe there's still a way to retcon it so that that's what happened. Maybe you have like a conversation where like the new backstage lady, Ace Austin's girlfriend, I forget her name, says something to the effect like, we heard from inside sources that, a couple months ago after your conflict with Ken Shamrock ended, that you were sent to HR to change your behavior. Is that what brought on this Joseph P. Ryan stuff? And Ryan could be like, that's an abominable lie. How dare you? And then walks away. And then you can like unravel the mystery from there. That would retcon it so that it makes more sense. But, Zach does have a point. It did start off kind of weak. The match was all right. Cousin Jake isn't exactly someone that I'm over the moon about. But I do like Cody Deaner. So any way to get Cody Deaner on screen, I'm fine with. But I think Cody Deaner might be better off on his own. It's just an opinion. So we then get Taya Valkyrie. She had a litany of excuses. Thank you, Impact Wrestling Twitter, for saying litany. I do love that. She called Rosemary, if I remember correctly, in a bar.
Yep.
And
Rosemary's still trying to hook up in the bar.
She's trying to suck that souls from them dicks.
Mm-hmm.
Because as we all know, a man's soul is at the end of his penis. So, this is one of the greatest fucking conversations because she's like, listen, if you do this for me, Rosemary's like, Taya, the fuck, I know you're ducking havoc. Why you not here? And she's like, oh, my back, my knees, my back. I don't know. Dog, travel, I don't know. Hey, can you do this for me, Rosie? And she's like, I'm going to do it for you, but you going to pay for this. And she's like, I'll take you to Vegas and get you all the souls you want. I don't think she was referred to the fucking souls, man. Taya gonna get Rosemary laid. So like when you get past the frilly language, the toned up, souped up, non-graphic conversations, Ty is basically like, you go fight Havoc for me, I'll get you all the dicks. And Rosemary's like, I want all the dicks, yes please. So then we get to the Full Metal Mayhem match. This was a pretty solid one, mostly because Rosemary's really good in hardcore matches.
Yes.
Really different face paint tonight for Rosemary. I dug it. Kind of more gothic instead of demonic, and I appreciate that. She had like the eyelash tears kind of going on. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Havoc still moves like someone who's very unathletic. So she wasn't exactly someone that I would say is any good. But she's not going anywhere. And do you want to know why?
Sami Callihan.
Yes, technically. But Nevia, was that her name? Nevia?
Something like that.
Neva? I thought it was Neva. Nivea. That sounds about right, because I always thought of Nidia. Nivea is a member of that Ohio is for Killers group.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you want to know who her husband is?
Who is that, Chad?
Jake Crist. So, yeah, he's not going. She's not going anywhere now. You gotta love it. I keep joking about it, like they're just gonna sign everyone from there, but that's not entirely untrue. Because here's the entire crop of characters from that region: Sami Callihan, Jake and Dave Crist, Dez, Wentz, Trey, Jessica Havoc, Neva, Sawyer Fulton. There's a 10th, not an Impact, but he might be, Myron Reed of Major League Wrestling. Literally like a fifth of the roster, or even like two-fifths of the roster is from fucking goddamn Cincinnati. Gross. Cincinnati. So Nevia, Beth Crist, whatever you want to call her, she's gonna be interesting. We'll see what she can do. She was a tag team partner with Madison Rayne way back in the day.
Huh.
Yeah, they were Shimmer tag team champions together. Because, hey, guess what? Want to take a stab in the dark where Madison Rayne is from? Columbus, which is about an hour from Dayton. So if you're running in the Southwest Ohio circles, Columbus, Cincinnati, Dayton are going to be three regions you're hitting a lot. So I'm not surprised. Let's just say I'm not fucking surprised. All right. Rosemary wins. Yay.
Yeah.
Woo. Woo. We then get Gia Miller, Ace Austin's girlfriend, talking about Willie Mack. Swan is there. To talk about Willie Mack, Willie talks about following the legacy of the X Division title. Going back to the early days of TNA, Johnny's finger interrupts and reminds Willie that he owes him a shot at the title. It won't be tonight, because we can't have that many nice things. I wish we could. So that's it. That's the entire show except for the main event. Like 5 segments.
Yeah.
I was a little shocked by that. We then get to the main event, which was a good 40 minutes. Elgin comes out, cuts a promo. Moose comes out, cuts a promo. Hernandez comes out and says, let's just fucking fight. And everyone's like, all right. And then they all fucking fight. At one point, Hernandez, I think it was Hernandez, leapt to the ringside floor. There was a second referee out there, and it looked like the referee and Elgin was supposed to catch Moose. Not Moose, I'm sorry, Hernandez. Instead, he misses the ref completely, lands on the flat back of Elgin, and Elgin kind of like falls back a little bit, like he's going to fall, like, you know, and take Hernandez end over end. But then Elgin kind of stumbles and falls forward with Hernandez completely on his back. It was one of the most awkward and yet awesome, brutal things I've ever seen in my life, because it looks like Elgin's like, motherfucker, that hurt. It was great. It looked like he got stuck is the best way to put it. Like, you know, like if you ever jammed your finger playing basketball. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Basketball is a game where active people bounce a ball.
Fuck you. Move on.
So, you know, like when someone like hits you with like a hard chest pass and like you put your hands out to get it and your finger gets jammed on the pass because your fingers are all like
like the worst thing ever.
Right? It's just, and you're just like fucking, like flipping your hand the rest of the game. Like, oh, come on. That's what it looked like, only to Elgin's back.
It did.
I was like, oh my God, Elgin just jammed his entire spinal cord into itself. That has to be painful. Shockingly enough, though, he was all right, much to many people's chagrin. The match picks up, though, and if I remember correctly, Hernandez gets in the ring immediately right after that. Moose is there. Moose hits him with the no jackhammer needed flipping spear, hooks the leg, 1, 2, 3. Then he demands that David Penzer announce him as the TNA World Champion. I think Penzer was supposed to announce him as the new TNA World Champion. But instead, Penzer just said, and the TNA World Champion, Moose.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Penzer, you've been doing this for 30 years. What are you doing? So firstly, Moose's attire, grade A. Would you concur?
Mm-hmm. I concur.
He's got new trunks. He's got a bandana that he wears right above his eyes. Not exactly great for the depth perception. Or the, what's that?
Peripheral?
Thank you, the peripheral. Or the peripherals. But it's at least a dynamic way of wearing it. He's got tassels now. And he's very colorful. And I think all of that really works for him as a character.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion. I think he looks fantastic. And I think it makes him look more like a world champion. And I think that's always kind of one of the issues. Like, you know when there's a point in time when someone needs to update their look to get over. And I always thought that Moose had a good look, but I don't think Moose had a good enough look. But now he's got everything that, one would need to be considered a real go-to world title kind of guy. How do you feel about his Macho Man Ultimate Warrior combo costume? Not costume, but attire. And do you feel like he's now more viable as a world champion, less viable, the same?
I like the look. I'm not a huge fan of the headband, but that's just me. That's just my personal opinion. I agree that I feel like that Moose did kind of need to update his look, but I also feel like the problem that's always been there with Moose, at least since he turned heel, is that he would get a push and then he would lose, and then he would get a little bit of a push and then he would lose, and then he'd get a little bit of a push and then he would lose. He was just in this constant up and down cycle all the time. So that, to me, I feel like he never was able to get enough momentum to get a world title. It still amazes me at this point that he never had a singles title until now, quote unquote.
Not true. Moose was the grand champion.
Was he?
Yes. In fact, I think that was like the first sign of his heel turn.
Huh.
Let me double check. I know you're wrong. I just like to know why you're wrong. I'm such a supportive friend.
So good.
Almost of the best. All right. Championships. Impact Grand Champion 2 times. It was the TNA Joker's Wild Champion in 2017. Feast or Fired 2018 World Championship contract winner. And it lists him as essentially the TNA World Champion. One time.
It does?
Yes, it does. Look at that. I'm going to go click on this this link and see if there's anything else that talks about it. I wonder how they're going to list this. So Tessa's still listed as the Impact champion.
Yeah. Oh gosh, Aaron Rex was the inaugural Grand Champion. I forgot about that.
It wasn't supposed to be though.
No.
No, I forgot who. Like Aaron Rex replaced someone in the finals. I want to say it was like Drew versus Eddie, and Drew couldn't do it.
Yeah, well, Drew. So then Drew and Eddie fought each other in the semifinals.
Yes.
And then the other semifinal was Aaron Rex and Eli Drake in that tournament.
Did Eli Drake win?
Eli Drake. No, Aaron Rex won.
Huh.
Aaron Rex won by pin.
Well, I got none. That's terrible. All right. Well,
So there were 8 champions.
8 too many.
First was Aaron Rex, then Moose, then Drew Galloway, then Moose again, then EC3, Matt Sydal. It's fucking Josh Matthews for a day. For some unknown reason. Oh, he was gifted the title by Matt Sydal. That's right. I forgot about that pairing. And then Austin Aries beat him the next day. And on June 4th, Austin Aries unified it with the world title.
Yes. Thus ending it forever.
Yeah.
Thank God. So, Musimus Prime. God, that's a great name. Musimus Prime. He's the new TNA World Champion. They were going to crown a TNA World Champion at the WrestleMania show. The No Place Like Home.
No Place Like Home?
Yeah. They're going to crown a TNA World Champion at No Place Like Home in a King of the Mountain match.
Right.
So I like that they ended up crowning one anyway at the Rebellion event. Overall, it was a 2-night event across 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that Rebellion as an Impact show lived up to what you would have wanted on pay-per-view? Like, let's imagine with what we got. Not what we lost, just what we got. With the 5 matches across 2 nights, did you get enough, in your opinion, to warrant this as a substantial major event?
See, it's kind of hard to think of it in those terms because it was split up into 2 nights. So it's kind of, I'm having to mentally just kind of cram the 2 nights together. So in that case, I mean, we had a new X Division champion crown.
Mm-hmm.
We had a Knockouts Full Metal Mayhem match.
Mm-hmm.
We had a world title match, a triple threat world title match, and some pretty. All the rest of the matches were pretty solid, save for 1 or 2, Joseph Ryan and Cousin Jake. So, if there is a way to just splitting it up is hard. Splitting it up makes it seem like it's less, but you have to remember that it was 2 nights of one event. So if you put all that stuff together, then I wouldn't say that it's like that I would give this a major pay-per-view feel, like a Slammiversary or a Bound for Glory or WrestleMania or whatever the fuck you want to say. But I'd say it was a pretty decent C pay-per-view.
Well, that's making me think here. So I'm doing something.
Well, what's you doing?
I'm building a mystery. I forget who sang that.
Building a mystery.
Google building a mystery song and tell me who sang that.
Okay.
Let's see. Then we got
Sarah McLachlan.
There it is. That's who it is. In the arms of an angel. All right. So let's pretend that we could do this in one night. I figured out the card. So you would open up with the 4-way X Division match: Chris Bay versus Rohit Raju versus Suicide versus Trey Miguel. Sorry. Then you would do Joseph P. Ryan versus Cousin Jake.
Mm-hmm.
Then you would do TJP, Triple XL, and TJP and Falaba, Triple XL, and the Rascals next. Then you would do Kylie Ray versus Kira Hogan. Then you would do Tommy Dreamer, Rhino, and the returning Crazy Steve versus OVE. Then you would do William Mack versus Ace Austin for the X Division title. Rosemary versus Havoc in the Full Metal Mayhem. And Moose versus Hernandez and Elgin for the world title. And I just forgot Sammy and Shamrock. So Sammy, Shamrock will go on before the TNA world title. So here's the official list. The X Division 4-way, okay. Joseph Ryan versus Cousin Jake. The 3-way tag team match, Kylie Ray versus Kira Hogan. The OVE versus Extreme 6-man tag match, William Mack versus Ace Austin for the X Division title. Rosemary versus Havoc in a Full Metal Mayhem. Ken Shamrock versus Sammy Callihan in an unsanctioned match. And then Elgin, Moose, and Hernandez for the world title. That's how you would do a one-night all-Rebellion event.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think you are one strong match away from having a B-list pay-per-view, which is what I would call Rebellion. Like, with Rebellion at its full strength, I think Rebellion at best is a B-list pay-per-view.
Yeah, I would agree.
I would say drop the Cousin Jake Joey P match or put more stakes for the 3-way tag match, and maybe then you would have an event that would be on the lesser end of acceptable for a Rebellion event.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're missing Eddie and Tessa, which means that Moose and Hernandez, which probably would have been some type of thing for the TNA World title. My thought is Hernandez probably would have won it at the event, the No Place Like Home event, and then would have challenged Moose for the belt. So I feel like that might have been the original plans, and then they came into this modifying that to a degree. I don't know if Crazy Steve was always the 6-man for that 6-man tag, but there it is. And probably would replace the Joey P. Cousin Jake match with a Knockouts title match in, the Full Metal Mayhem. So I don't know what you would do with Rosemary and Havoc, but I feel like if you did the original card, it would have it would have enough, I think, to make it a comparable one with the new card. So maybe I'll write up something about that. So that leaves us with just talking about how you feel about the TNA World Title being back.
I'm not against it. I will reiterate, if I can talk. I will reiterate what I said last week, is that I miss there being like an on-air authority figure.
Mm-hmm.
And not the authority. It's fucking stupid. It needs that just no. It would have been so much better and so much more credible for Moose. I feel like for him to have, for someone, be it Don Callis, be it Scott D'Amore, whoever, to come out and say, Eddie's not here, Tessa's not here, we were going to have a world title match, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to bring out Moose and we're going to bring out Hernandez. And we're going to put him against Michael Elgin and reinstate the TNA world title. That I know Moose coming out with the TNA World Title proclaiming that he is the TNA World Champion is a great heel thing to do, but it denies his quote unquote reign as having any credibility, because he is the self-appointed champion at this point.
Mm-hmm.
He's not at this point, at least. He's not officially recognized as a world champion by the company. So I like what they did with it, and I like the idea that you posited last week of introducing the TNA World Title, and then when Tessa comes back, you have a unification match for the true world champion. I like it. It makes perfect sense for what to do with Tessa being gone until the end of this quarantine or however long.
10 more weeks.
10 more weeks. You know, it's just as you have stated, it needs to be more grounded in realistic sports for it to actually work.
It's just simply better that way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why I love MLW so much, is because they present it as a sport. It's phenomenal. Now, it's not all sport. It's not just like, so Tom Lawler, how are you? I'm doing well. Well, you got a match tonight against Loki. How you feeling? Feeling all right. All right. And now back to you guys. No, it's still very much pro wrestling, but they do treat it as a sport. As soon as that bell rings, it's a sporting event. And I think that's where wrestling works the best, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of wrestling companies are failing to gain new audiences, is because they're not presenting it as a sport anymore. They're making up rules on the fly. That's one of the reasons why I can't get into AEW, because of just the schmoz that they let go on. Like TNA at its worst. We watched TNA at its worst.
Oh, it was bad.
TNA at its worst never let people make tags from inside the ring before.
They let everyone do just about everything else in a fucking tag team match, but they never did that.
Right? Like, Slash tried to murder Chris Harris on live TV, but he still had to tag out with his partner on the corner. Fuck. I look at AEW and I just think to myself, you signed Kenny Omega and Cody Rhodes, and the first thing you start doing is making them just like everyone else. Do you know how fucking stupid that is? I feel like a lot of wrestling fans aren't that smart. Hot take, I know. And they hear all the times, well, you shouldn't bury anyone. You don't want to be like Triple H. Hulk Hogan's a bad guy. Because he's always worried about what was best for him. Well, think about it in more of a grander scope. Hulk Hogan always worried about what was best for him, and to this day, Hulk Hogan is still an attraction.
Yeah.
Because he made sure his aura was protected. Now, you can sit here and say, well, a different era, or work rate, and I'll sit here and tell you fucking great. What's work rate getting you? Declining ratings. Oh, you got a 45-minute main event match that no one slowed down with, and you had 48 kickouts, and no one sold the finisher. Oh, Lordy. It's so good. You lost half your audience in the span of this match. Good job. We want characters. We want precise, concise action that makes sense. We don't want to be stuck on a roller coaster for way too long. We want to enjoy it. And the only reason why roller coasters are so enjoyable and popular is because they are fleeting experiences that take you up, take you down, take you all around, and then it stops.
Yeah.
It doesn't last for too long. It doesn't make you wish that you had gotten off a long time before. It is simply done. Yeah. There's a reason why, despite wrestling staggering, MMA is growing, and it's not because it's MMA. It's because people know in MMA that there is a opportunity to see an exciting fight that lasts 25 seconds, and no one's going to sit and go, "Oh, it only lasts 25 seconds. So and so must have been a jobber." Because when you're both swinging wildly like goddamn rock'em sock'em robots, and one of your eyes falls out and the other one's ear explodes on contact, and then one of you just so happens to fall, no one's sitting here saying the guy who fell is a jobber. We're just saying, thank God it only went 25 seconds, because if it went 28 seconds, one of them would have died. And if wrestling presented itself like that, where we didn't count the number of minutes, it would get better. And that's the thing that really pisses me off, because that happened in like late 2000s, early 2010s. Everyone's like, well, that match only had 5 minutes on Impact. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
People were actually fucking counting the number of minutes wrestling was on Impact. And now that's become a thing. But people forget. You know, everyone's being told, well, with Kenny Omega and Okada, long matches equals best matches of the year. To be fair, Dave Meltzer's not saying that. The fans are saying that. Because fans can't differentiate what it means to have an exciting match and a long match and a short match. I can put together a great 6-minute match that'll block, you know, knock your fucking socks off. Hey, Goldberg-Lesnar Survivor Series, great main event. But it only went, shut up, you're wrong. The fact that it only...
the greatest Lesnar match of all time.
I'm not even being facetious when I say that's one of my three favorite Lesnar matches of all time. Because it did everything it's supposed to do. It took you on a ride. It told a story. It made you feel something.
Yeah.
I don't throw my hands in the air often anymore, man. I'm not kidding. Like, you know, I watch wrestling and I go, all right. I don't go, ooh, or ah, because I've seen it all before. I watch so much of this junk. It's all secondhand to me. But watching Goldberg put that sumbitch down in 2 spears and a jackhammer in 98 seconds, holy hell. My exact reaction sounded like a goddamn chimpanzee about to orgasm. Ooh, 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 ooh. And then the 3 count, like, ah! I was legitimately taken on a ride. But people want to poo-poo that match because it was only like 2 minutes. Are you kidding me? Name one match in 2016, 2017? Name one match that year that was better than Goldberg Lesnar in the WWE. You're wrong. You don't even need to answer. You're already wrong. But Gargano and Ciampa, yeah, they went 15 minutes. Great. They had 38 kickouts. Fantastic. Same match they've done a fucking 1,000 times before. It's not impressive anymore. We get it. Y'all like long matches. But that doesn't make them exciting. And I feel like when we talk about modern pro wrestling, especially with AEW and WWE, the desires to have these long, fucking boring-ass matches. I don't need to see Lacey Von, what's-her-face, taking on Sasha Banks for 20 minutes. I'm good, fam. Ooh, you got Tommaso Ciampa taking on Johnny Gargano for 20 minutes on NXT, and then you got Finn Balor taking on some Brit I've never heard of for another 22 minutes. Why? And then you bitch about, well, you made Nakamura just another guy. Guess how you do that? It's not just because you do 50-50 booking. It's because you make him go 25 minutes with Zack goddamn Ryder. Quick matches, squash matches are important and integral to creating a character's persona and mystique. You've, as a wrestling society, have fucked around with the idea of mystique for so long that you don't even realize that none of your heroes have it anymore. Drew Galloway or Drew McIntyre doesn't have mystique. He's a fucking he's like everyone else. He's just taller. Oh, he's Scottish. Ooh. All right, but who is he? He's fucking Scottish Seth Rollins. Ooh. We need more mystique. We need more characters. We need more squash matches. We need longer main events, shorter everything else. And then every once in a while, just have a main event end in 38 seconds. Just because if we can't predict it's going to happen, then guess what? We're going to tune in. I was so excited to tune in to Impact because I know what's going to happen. I'm glad I did. Fuck.
It's really, I often think about that old adage of the old saying of wrestling is a ballet. More and more it is. There's no meaning to any moves anymore. It's just how fast can you go, how high can you jump, how many flips can you do, how choreographed can your match be. And I'm not saying a choreographed match is bad. The Randy Savage Ricky Steamboat match from WrestleMania 3 was choreographed front to back. Mm-hmm. They had the whole thing planned out. But that match is a great match because it still managed to tell a story. There was still ring psychology. Nobody has ring psychology. Nobody uses character in the ring, save for just a handful of people. That's what I always that's what we always liked about pro wrestling. We don't, the this is awesome chants are really they're the same as the what chants now. You just do it just to do it because that's what you chant now. They don't mean anything. They don't. There's just so little substance to the majority of any of the matches anymore that it's no wonder why there's more access to wrestling now than there probably ever has been.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, yes, there was the territory, just wrestling promotions everywhere, but you only could get them if you were local.
Yeah, I think only like three.
What's that?
I think only 3 promotions were on national television: AWA, NWA, and WWE. Everyone else was regional.
Yeah. Now you can watch WWE, you can watch AEW, you can watch TNA / Impact. Brain fart. TNA World Title fucked me up. You can watch Ring of Honor. You can watch New Japan.
At the same time.
At the same time, you can watch MLW. There's so much wrestling out there to watch, but you can't. But the popularity is not at an all-time high because, I mean, pro wrestling now is catering to the vocal minority that was always the internet wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the guys we have spoken out against the internet wrestling community since day one. And now this is what wrestling has been catered to. And we always thought that was a bad idea. We don't cater to the internet wrestling community because that is the minority. You need to cater to the most number of viewers that you can. Now, you also want to do that without sacrificing quality. That's right. That's a hard line to cross to walk on. But it's, everything is, as you said, it's 45-minute matches with everyone, which does not differentiate anybody. There's no lower card, middle card, upper card, except the only way you can tell those apart is by what title are they going. And even that has very little meaning. So more wrestling needs to be more like what the NWA is doing.
Yes.
And going back to what everyone got started and with wrestling in the first place. Now, granted, there were a lot of this current audience that was watching the X Division, and the X Division was fantastic. AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Willie Mack listed out the groups this week, but those matches weren't every match on the card. Those matches weren't 45 minutes every single time. Those were unique. Those were special because you didn't get them all the time. It was the same with the Cruiserweight division and in WCW. Those were the workers. Those were the high flyers. Those were attractions because they weren't there all the time. That's the thing with an attraction is that you can't have it be there constantly, otherwise it loses appeal. Why do I need to watch this now when I can watch the exact same thing over and over and over whenever I want to? So we need to go back to basics. Ring work is wonderful. There are so many fantastic athletes that can do any number of flips. But how many of them can tell a story? How many of them can develop a character that actually resonates with people? How many of them can actually have that in-ring chemistry that you know what this specific person is feeling and doing and thinking in this very moment. That's what we need. That's what wrestling was built on. That's what made wrestling popular in the first place.
That's the longest you've ever talked. Ever.
Right? Right?
I'm starting to fall asleep over here. God damn, shut up. I'm sorry. Who told you you can talk for as long as me? I don't know who, but that person's fired. I think one of the things
I think it was you about 5 years ago.
Probably. I think that you went a long way to say something that I think you almost got correct. Wrestling doesn't need to go back to basics in essence. It needs to be perpetually exciting, which is a lot of what you're saying. Because when you think about the Attitude Era, most segments would go 5 to 7 minutes. Fast, quick, abrasive, brutal, on to the next thing. They didn't drag out. So when you got to the eventual 20-minute segments, you knew you were watching something special. The problem is, not so much with Impact or Ring of Honor or NWA or MLW, but with WWE and AEW, the problem is you have so much time to kill now. You have 3 hours for AEW a week. And then you have, fucking 42 hours a day with WWE, it feels like. So you're forced to stretch. And part of the issue with the WWE is not only do they want to have longer matches, they want to use popular, talented stars incorrectly. You mentioned before about the attraction. Shinsuke Nakamura should only have been wrestling once a month. He was huge. He was over. You hit that music, and then all of a sudden, like, fans are out of their seats. All of a sudden, you go, he's only wrestling once a month on television? Fuck. Well, I got to tune in then. And then when you tune in, you can't just do the same half-ass 50-50, you get your spots. It needs to be something fun. One of the reasons why Anderson Silva became so popular in MMA is because he was always known for being very... It's not going to be the correct way of saying this, but he was always known for being very flirtatious. He was always someone who would bait his opponent by mocking them, by doing the fucking Michael Jackson dance in the middle of a fight. He would always get all a little cocky, and it gave him a sense of personality. If you had Nakamura doing the same thing, where it's like a 10-minute match, but gave zero offense to his opponent, and it's just 10 minutes of Nakamura embarrassing the schmuck until he hits the Kinshasa, all of a sudden Nakamura is, the guy. He wrestles once a month. He never wrestles for more than 10 minutes, and he always wins by knockout. All of a sudden, we start talking about Brock Lesnar versus Nakamura, and then fans are like, oh, all Nakamura's got to do is hit him with that Kinshasa, and he's going to knock him out. And then all of a sudden, you don't even need to book the goddamn feud. Fans are booking it for you out of the idea of seeing two of the best booked people going at it. It's a fucking easy thing to do. Give someone something that makes them unique and then drive it home. Part of the problem is you have too many wrestlers these days who don't think about the integrity of doing what's right and doing what's best for the entire business, and will instead try to steal gimmicks and steal moves and steal things to do it themselves, which dilutes the idea of it. If you're better than everyone else, like I don't think anyone could do what Nakamura did when he was peaking in 2016 with NXT and WWE. Like if you were Nakamura at that point, you were booked like I had presented booking him. No one else could book Nakamura like that. Like you couldn't book a Nakamura reject as strong as the real Nakamura. But that's not what they're doing. And people need to realize that, they'll be like, well, New Japan, they always have 40-minute matches. Well, no, not really. They don't. And most of their matches are tag team matches. There's a reason why Okada and Tanahashi still draws when it's one-on-one, because it doesn't happen that often. There's not 16 rematches in 1 year. And that's another issue. Like, they don't, bulk and, I don't know why people like this. I don't know why. I've never liked it. I've always had a problem with it. This idea of having one feud that stretches 4 or 5 months. I don't get it. That's stupid. that should only be reserved for the most brutal of feuds. Most feuds should be for a major fight, and that's it.
Yeah.
Case in point, let's say we do Moose and Tessa.
Okay.
Let me just respond to a text real fast.
So professional.
I know, right? So let's say we're doing Moose and Tessa for Slammiversary. We're not worried about August. Let's just assume that Slammiversary is still in September, in July. I mean, I'm not worried about September. I'm not worried about October or November or December. My whole goal is to get to Moose and Tessa. So my whole goal is to book Moose and Tessa in two drastic different ways. Moose would roll everyone. Every match he would have would be a world championship match. He would roll 5 minutes or less every time, unless it's like an Eddie Edwards, in which case you can do more back and forth because Eddie's a main eventer. But if it's like Rohit Raju or, TJP, 5 minutes or less every time. Tessa, because this is the angle I'm going for, because it works, because it's more authentic, Tessa would not defend her belt. And every time she would grab her knee and go, I can't continue, and then she'd leave, because Tessa works really well as a heel. So I would turn her heel. So every time she would get a world title match opportunity to defend her belt, it would be against the Elgins, the Valkyries, the Edwards, the top of the top. And every time she'd grab her knee and leave. So then all of a sudden you start building up to the idea that Moose slaughters everyone. Tessa's been running from everyone, title for title. All of a sudden you make the match that it's, if Tessa forfeits, gets counted out, or is disqualified, same thing with Moose, they lose their belts. All of a sudden Tessa can't just run from this match. Now you've built up a match around of an idea, around two separate individuals clashing. That's how you build a fucking fight. Like, that's what you do. You don't need to worry about, well, how are we going to continue this in August? Who cares? Move on. Do something different. Whoever wins, move on. That way you keep that feud fresh. There's a reason why John Jones and Daniel Cormier in the MMA world is still one of the hottest feuds, even though they've fought twice in 6 years. It's because even when they're not fighting, they're still poking at each other. Let's say Moose wins. He's got Elgin at Bound for Glory. Maybe he gives a little jaw to Tessa. Maybe Tessa's, feuding with Jordan Grace for the Knockouts title. Maybe Jordan Grace is giving little Elgin a little jaw. You just little jaws, and you start planting possible seeds for the next feud. It's a continuation, not an elongation. You're looking at the next possible jumping in points for the next match, not finding ways to continue on with the feud. And I think wrestling fans need to realize that everything that they've been taught about feuds and prolonging feuds and multiple matches across months is all based off the idea of 1980s territorial booking, where you're being booked on 1 hour television shows every week, but you're filming everything, in a month in advance. So like Hogan's only going to wrestle once that night on the taping, and he's only going to show up once on the next month on matches. And it's going to be in a tag team match with like Brutus Briefcake against, Barry Horowitz and Barry Horowitz's cousin Kerry Horowitz. And they win in 4 minutes. But it's the main event. Who the fuck cares? And then you're going to see him once every 2 or 3 months on pay-per-view wrestling for defending his belt. So yeah, you would extend that for 4 or 5 months because you're only going to see him on television a total of 5 times. But if you see him every week, or 2 times a week, or 3 times a week, plus the YouTube, plus on Twitter, you get oversaturated, and then you don't really care anymore. It's when you're able to pull back and make him feel special. That's when it works. And I feel like if we did that with modern pro wrestling, it would still very much work, because a lot of times you're only wrestling, and if you're Impact, you're wrestling at best once or twice a month, at best. And that's and that's what they should be doing. You should be booking talent to appear once on Impact throughout the month as a wrestling match, once as an interview. Maybe you do a vignette, and then they're off for a month or for a week. So in total, and I think this is a valid idea, you do 1 match, 1 promo, 1 vignette, and you're off. And that's your monthly televised schedule. That way there's no oversaturation of you in the ring. That's why whenever we do put you in the ring on Impact, it's fucking, it's a jobber match. Like if Eddie, under this model, Eddie Edwards would never wrestle a long match on Impact again. He would face off with Rohit Raju and win in 3 minutes. And probably win by knockout or submission. And then the whole goal is whenever he's on TV, you put him over hard. Put him over big hard. Then you build up to the big event, and then you're like Eddie versus so-and-so at Rebellion. Or Eddie versus so-and-so at Slammiversary. Well, Eddie hasn't lost on television in 6 months. He's got an average ring time of 2.5 minutes. He's got 14 knockouts and 13 opportunities. He's so badass, he knocked out some bitch twice. At once. And now he's facing Michael Elgin, who's been making everyone tap. He's fucking Elgin's had 12 matches. Longest ring time is 3.5 minutes, and he wins by a cross arm breaker every time. Holy shit, I don't even need to have these two feud with one another. I don't even need to have them do a promo on one another. If the commentators are worth their salt, you're going, it's knockout versus tap out. Who wins? Sells itself. The problem is...
Unfortunately...
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in that's a big caveat if the commentators are worth the salt or worth their salt, but nobody is anymore. Well,
Madison Rain is.
Madison Rain is good.
And I don't just mean because she's ripping Josh a new asshole every night. She genuinely puts over both faces' Neils. Like Chris Bay, am I wrong? Chris Bay's a face, right?
No, he's a heel.
Is he?
Yeah.
Wrestles like a face. Like she's putting over Chris Bay and Suicide last night.
Yeah.
Not, that's not exactly something that the bad announcers do. And that's another thing. Everyone is trying to parlay the WWE style as the only way to do this. The best way to go about it is book this like a real combat sport. You're not going to book Ken Shamrock in his heyday or a more contemporary individual, Khabib Nurmagomedov or Conor McGregor. You're not going to book them on every fight. Because one, it would destroy the popularity because they're eventually going to lose and that's going to hurt their standings, and you avoid that. So you book them 3 times a year. Now, you need to do 3 times that in wrestling at least. But you book them 3 times a year against the top of the top, and then you let them go at it. Or if they're coming off of a hiatus, you book them against someone on the lower tier than them who still has name value and a good, strong fan-based brand, but with the expectation that Conor's going to win, like what Conor did to Cowboy Cerrone a few months ago. Do that with wrestling. Once a month on television, squash match. And that's under the idea that you would have at least one major event every month. And then on that major event, you put them on big screen TV, pay-per-view, Twitch, Impact Plus, whatever. But you would also need to go to whatever indie events and basically, tell Eddie or whoever, like, hey, listen, you cannot let them beat, you have to win. If you go to CZW or AIW or, Shikara or Progress or Defy, you got to tell them that you need to win or else you can't work the event. Because we need to protect you across the board. Because protecting a character and protecting a personality and protecting a persona needs to be priority number 1 nowadays. Everyone can do goddamn 450 Phoenix splashes. No one gives a fuck anymore. We don't care. There's a reason why Ricochet's not getting over in the WWE, and it's not because they're not booking him correctly. It's because there's 1,000 of him in that company. Mm-hmm. And he's not even the best person who does what he does. That's Will Ospreay. So it's kind of one of those things where mystique and personality will always carry you as long as you can be different. So that's what wrestling needs more of. And I say it every fucking week, it feels like.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Anything else?
No. I think that about does it.
I'm going to check the news sites one last time, make sure they got double check-a-rama. Cody Rhodes goes to the finals of the TNT title tournament. Macia, Velveteen Dream. Let's see.
Is Velveteen Dream still in WWE?
Yeah, he's in NXT. He's facing off with Adam Cole for the title. Talk about generic Adam Cole. Goddamn.
Right?
Generic Michaels, baby. Yep, that's about it. All right, so you can find us at the website, realnerdcorp.com, RealNerdCorp.com. We're on Twitch at twitch.tv/WrestlingUnderground. We're on Twitter at NERDCORP. We're on Instagram at RealNerdCorp. Our Woman Crush for this week is going to be Amy Adams, and the rest of the week is going to be Moose. So be on the lookout for that. Podbean, realnerdcorp.podbean.com. If you want to use your computer to download all of our past podcasts, you can do so by going to realnerdcorp.podbean.com or by downloading Podbean to your mobile device and searching for Real Nerd Corp on the service. I think you need to sign up for it. No subscription required. You just need to have a profile, I believe. You can listen to us then on your mobile devices through the Podbean app. We're also on... I think that's it. You can find Thackeray over here at Deviant... Nope, God damn it. At Radiance 2020, there it is. RADIANCE2020 on both DeviantArt and on Instagram. That's Radiance 2020, RADIANCE2020.
There you go.
Yep. You can find me on my personal Chad Nerdcorp, CHADNERDCORP on Twitter and on Instagram at at Chad's Photo Hut. There it is. CHADSPHOTOHUT. Zach will be on with us tomorrow. Twitch.tv/Comic and GameCorp as we talk about the finale of The Boys comic arc. We were going to do it last week, but I had to cover the draft, and I completely forgot I was covering the draft. My bad. I hate to say this, but literally, I usually forget I have a date until like 40 minutes before I'm supposed to leave. Because I'm such a habitual person that I just think, what day is it? What obligations do I have? I always forget when I add things to a day because I'm always like, fuck me. If I'm there late, there will be none of that. So last week was my bad. But this week, there's nothing on Thursday that I'm aware of. So, Boys finale, we're going to talk about it. Marcus is blown away by the ending. I want to know what you think when we talk about it next week. And then we will have a week off. Me and Marcus will talk about something. And then, not next week, but the week after that, we'll start reading Y: The Last Man. Yeah. So anything else?
No, that's it.
All right. Well, then we're done for the night. You guys have a good one. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. And thanks for giving us a chance. For Zachary Tyler, Pew Pew Duncan, I'm Chad Porto. This has been Making an Impact. We're done. Thackeray, take us home.
Good night, Tessa Blanchard.